on here in just a little bit. Hopefully, if I got a little bit last few minutes for folks to get in here.
Should I just have people like sign in?
Probably just fine. You would have to let the price of this thing down a bit. Put it screen.
Please pull
Oh, they're an automatic? Oh. Yeah, I don't think you pull them all the way down.
There we go. That was where the
Weird, but hey, works.
How are you?
We got my name tag.
Yeah, mine's downstairs. Bad about that these days.
I love doing one-off presentations. It makes me feel entirely incompetent. And it's just, and sometimes I just need to get knocked down off of my high horse a little bit.
One-off is hard, because you have to give an overview, but also provide value in some way.
Well, really, it's not only the one-off to folks, but it's the one-off. I've given this presentation exactly 0 times, and after this, I'll probably do it exactly 0 times.
We'll have you come back and do it. How about that? Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Oh, yeah. Another one of them works.
Have you guys sign in, and then if you'd like to enter for the words, writing. If you'd like to enter for the door prizes for a free assessment and coaching session, there's stuff to do that as well. And then to make a name tag. Unfortunately, they all say yes. You don't have any of the tags. Do you want me to bring down the Keurig?
Sure.
Coffee?
That's okay, but there's not time for you to do that.
Yeah, I don't have time to make coffee, but I can grab that for sure.
No, you're good. Okay. Just wanted to hit that button.
Okay, there we go.
I believe I can cheat.
If you would just sign in.
Loud.
I like cheating. Cheating is good, but you're not.
That's what the system is saying is.
Yeah.
Sorry, I should have told you. Did you put your email address on there?
Oh, no.
Yeah, I should have.
It's
You'll
okay.
put your email on.
I can do that.
That's how we'll connect with y'all. We also, it's pretty informal. You'll literally get a piece of paper that says you won. We gotta figure out how to actually get it to you.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was it.
Still my personal.
We'll run and get Keurig and some coffee fixin'.
John, are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm hanging in.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm trying to get my brain to wake up. We'll see if that eventually happens. Some days it's easier than others.
Really like that. You need some work.
Remote for the TV. was the other screen?
Video controls.
Yeah, just the left TV, is, you hit the left TV.
Well, I see two green lights, so I've got,
I hit the manual button.
yeah,
When in doubt, press the buttons on the back of it. I can't find the button on the back of it. Maybe it's on the other side. Well, that is- Is that better?
yeah, that's fine. The two on the side are fine. Really short window of where I could, I usually walk and talk, I just need to see where it's, oh, this is. I'll just ping pong back and forth.
Are you?
How are you? It's Friday and fall. Yeah.
It is, suddenly.
Yes, right, yeah, it came with a bang.
Well, and I think yesterday or today is technically the first day of fall. So-
Yesterday, I think, yeah.
Was it yesterday? So it's like, okay, we're here, we're not kidding around
Yeah,
now.
no.
We are
This is a
not
sign that
kidding
wants to
around.
go. But then it's going up into the
Looks like it's
I'll
nice.
take
and-
seventies.
The thing is, like, it's nice and cool, like in the morning, I like that, but then like during the day, it still gets up in the 80s.
Yeah.
Morning, how are you all doing?
All right, we get this door open.
Sure.
Okay.
It's kind of confusing. just having
Yeah, you're like, is
classroom.
this, yeah, you can't
Well, yeah,
see
it says
through.
classroom on the thing.
I heard Gabe speaking from within and went, that's the right
There
place.
we go.
Well, you actually heard my voice?
Yes.
That's amazing. Like, my voice doesn't.
I was like listening up at,
Oh, that's encouraging. Every once in a while, I actually get my voice to project. That's an accomplishment. Normally, my voice gets lost in the HVAC sound because it's so low and monotone. Or like it's really monotone and people start falling asleep in the room. And so like that's why I have to work jokes and every time I say something, because if I don't, then people just. The worst I had was a training session at work. I was trying to onboard people to a new CRM and the guy's literally sitting next to me. Like, I'm like,
Late night.
all right, well, good luck. I was like, oh. I last took mine back in 2016, so it's probably been through, that trigger when it's called the standout survey.
Well, standout is Mark Buckingham's version. He used to work for them. But standout and standout 2.0 is a consolidated version of the full strength finders. Because I believe there's only,
Like 9, I'm sure.
I think there's 9 from standout, and strength finders has 34 different
Lot more comprehensive.
different criteria. Now, I'm a fan of standout if you're not like really digging into strengths-based stuff, because it's just so much more accessible. You know, you get two strengths, and they cover a lot more domains. And it's just, I don't know, I was like a really big fan of standout until I got certified in strength finders. And then I was like, oh, this is way better. Strength finders is way better, but I didn't know that until I really dug into Like, what does it mean and why does it mean it? And we'll actually cover all that. So I don't, not necessarily the differences, but what it was that I discovered that made it better.
Yeah, that'd be helpful. It just a lot of what we're trying to do with these sessions that we're gonna have in our YouTube stuff. So if anyone wants to see some of your work in the community, feel free to reference the YouTube because it's gonna be on there for you.
Oh, fantastic. Last time I was on YouTube, I did an interview and I told the interviewer that I was a master manipulator in referring to communication styles and working with people. Like, people understand that, right? But, you know, manipulation does not necessarily have to be nefarious. Right? We manipulate people all the time. We just don't call it that because we're afraid of the word.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound nice, no. And then after some of my clients got a hold of that, it really struck me like, oh, words matter.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. There are a couple of different podcasts and that are local that might be worthwhile for you to try to reach that demographic. And if it's radio, so maybe we can talk later some of those and see if we can help you all kind of get connected to some folks.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm always interested in connecting with more people. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. Anybody feel like we got Mosaic that gave us some wonderful goodies this morning? So we got some looks like sugar cookies, some I'm guessing grapes, and something else. Pieces of cinnamon roll, yeah. Nice and sugary. So like if you're thinking about falling asleep, and my voice hasn't already put you to sleep, yeah, we also joke at work that I have a new coworker. We both have what we call radio voices, and so like it's just kind of funny with customers who are like, wait a minute. So we thought about doing things like saying, "Welcome to the store. Here's the radio station. We'll play some cool jazz when you reach it." Just kind of do stuff like that. But you gotta have fun with customers. Make them enjoy the entire experience, especially if they have to leave. But I know the goal is to try to get everyone out by 9:30 to 10, somewhere ideally closer to 9:30. I'm not sure what Chris's hard stop is, but I do try to give him as much time as I can. So I'll go over a couple of announcements. If you're still on your way in out there, Facebook and YouTube world, we'd love to have you here. Otherwise, thank you for attending online. We're just going to try to go ahead and work on our self-awareness series. If you do come in, just come over here, sign in, and get yourself available for the door prizes. Just need like your name, email address, so that if you do win, we can work on getting you, whether it's a coaching session with Chris over here, or one of the assessments that we're giving out. We want to make sure that you have a chance to participate and learn, especially if you haven't taken this assessment yet. And as Chris and I were talking about earlier, this test has had a few different iterations. But the CliftonStrengths is a lot more comprehensive, so it'll help you kind of have more insights into what you're best at doing. So again, this is part of our self-awareness series over here with Professionals of Asheville. We did the Ideal Team Player a couple weeks ago, so if you all enjoyed that, if you haven't watched it yet, please feel free to check it out on YouTube or read the book by Patrick Finstone, The Ideal Team Player. We have our annual sponsors here, one of them being Western Carolina University. I think we're adding a few of their graduate students pretty soon to our membership roll, so when they come to the head, please do welcome them. Want to make sure that they get a chance to participate and network. If you know folks that would be valuable members, add a lot of different perspectives. We want to definitely have as many folks as we can from different areas of Asheville or the surrounding Western North Carolina to participate. We have the Chamber of Commerce that we're now a formal committee of. We have Fast Signs, Gillespie Dental, Amplified Media, Capital Play. One of the original founders of Capital Play actually was a YPA member. We have Bit Cookie, Park National Bank. I'll make sure to thank you for all that, and those that are members already that are supporting the content. If you haven't joined, we'd love to have you join. It's now actually an annual basis instead of a fiscal year. So you get your benefits for all 12 months. of the year. We have a members only event coming up later in October, Harlem Bash, with a costume contest. So feel free to have fun with that. We'll make sure to thank Mosaic Cafe for providing the goodies this morning here in Western Carolina for the Keurig machine coffee. So if you need to get some coffee and wake up a little bit, feel free to go over there and grab some. Thanks for hosting Western Carolina. And a couple of things that we want to make sure you're aware of. Is one of our partners is Wood Hatchworks over there. So wanted to make sure to let you know about the ones coming up in October and November in terms of the corporate entrepreneurship. It's run by Adventure Nashville. I've got 2 more of those events coming up. Other things to know about is on the 30th, we're doing one with Mana Food Bank. So there's still opportunity to sign up for that. We're also promoting the social that on the Grove Park Inn. I'm not sure how many available spots are left for, but that's also on the 30th. Our next professional development event is going to be a diversity, inclusion, and equality workshop. So it's going to be very interactive coming up on the 7th. And then I also want to make sure we promote that we're going to have that the Hatchworks has their Tech Expo the 12th through 13th of October. We also have a few more things. So we have that social I mentioned. That's the members only over the Hilton over in this area over here in Biltmore Park. So it's basically all the donations that are benefiting the Asheville Humane Society. It's going to be Monday, October 24th. Now, it's a little bit different having a Halloween party on Monday, but I mean, we got to make sure that we have your time versus trying to eat away at some of the other possibilities on Halloween itself. They're going to have a Hatchoween thing with Hatchworks over at Bear Smokehouse. So do check their information about how to get involved with that and to help them celebrate their 5th birthday on October 20th. I know that Chris here is going to help borrow some of the stuff from one of your
I'm
slides.
actually going to do a full thing on the SBTDC. So
Yeah, just want to make sure that we're very thankful to SBTC for doing this and also doing a profile assessment overview coming up on December 2nd. I just got nailed down. I think we're going to be doing at the Asheville Chamber versus at this location. We're trying to make sure you get exposed to some of the opportunities to grow yourself in your career, whether it's through networking like at Hatchworks, or through education in Western Carolina and some of the other opportunities in town. Over to trying to get connected with some of the other happenings for helping you make career shifts in town. Hoping to be able to highlight some of those in the next few months, so that folks get opportunities to kind of make sure that they're enjoying their work, not only using their strengths, but kind of trying to find your flow in terms of what you love actually doing. And so now we'll switch over to Chris's PowerPoint. Here.
right, cool. Well, thank you, and thank you everyone for being here today. My name is I'm Chris. I work with the SBTDC. Just a little bit before we get started, a little bit about me. Like, who's this joker up here talking, and why is he talking? Well, I'm a small business counselor and consultant with an SBTDC. I also hold a PhD in industrial and organizational psychology. I have an MBA, and I am a certified CliftonStrengths coach. I'm also a certified executive coach, and I love working with small businesses, and I love being in Western North Carolina. If you can tell from my accent, I did not grow up in Western North Carolina, but I'm well steeped in the culture of the Appalachian Mountains now, because a lot of my clients are out there, and I'm like, oh, y'all different.
They
And,
correct you when you say Appalachian?
Well, I don't actually use Appalachian. I don't actually use that term out there because I'm afraid, there's some things that you just don't talk about. And so no, I've never been corrected on that. So today's just September 23rd, if you didn't know, and this is the Young Professionals of Asheville. Yes.
Yes.
Good.
You're in the
right
right room.
place. All right, so we're gonna, I'm gonna give you a brief overview of the SBTDC. Anyone know what the SBTDC is? Small Business and Technology Development Center. Have any of you worked with us before? Okay, so let me tell you, I'm gonna spend about 5 minutes, maybe less, on the SBTDC and our organization, and then we'll jump into StrengthsFinders. So we are part of the University of North Carolina system. So technically, I'm an employee of Western North Carolina. Western North Carolina University. Yeah, WCU. I never actually say it, so I don't, it's like, where do I work? I don't know. So we have our program, we have employees at every campus in the North Carolina University system. So one of my colleagues works at UNCA, and then all of the, I think there's 13, 12, 11 public universities in North Carolina, and we cover the whole thing. So we're kind of like the ag extension, or you can think of us as like a university-wide history department, right? So we just, so the University of North Carolina system hosts us. We've been around since about 1984, and we're part of a national network of the small business development centers. It's a national program. We have the little T because it stands for technology, so that's an extra certification. You get an extra certification, you get an extra letter. I don't know. My battery just died. What's going on? No, battery's there. All right, good. Hey, all right, we're good. So our mission, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give you my spiel, and you can kind of read up on the board, right, what the technical definitions are. But what we do really is we enhance the economic viability of the state of North Carolina by working with small businesses. And how you can translate that is, my job as a business counselor is to help small businesses succeed. And if I can help small businesses succeed, I'm doing my job well. And I can do whatever needs to be done, minus just doing their business for them. Right? So that's essentially what drives me, is employees, getting employees working and keeping them working, keeping small businesses up and running, and helping small businesses get started. So here's our regional map. Our office, my office is in downtown Asheville. We have an office in Cullowhee at West on campus, and we have an office at UNCA. We cover the 14 westernlymost counties of the state of North Carolina, and you can see our other offices cover the other sections. But we have the best region, of course, in the state of North Carolina. Wilmington's probably a close second, but you know, I like the mountains better. We do a lot of work. We had in 2000, we had 5,600 clients. We did 64,000 hours of counseling, and we help people raise a lot of money. We help people keep a lot of jobs. We do government contracting, so we helped a lot of small businesses. $385 million of government contracting is what our contracting specialists help with. And we help start 488 new people. I'm thinking about CliftonStrengths, not businesses right now. So wires are getting crossed. I apologize. So we do have some programs, some specialty programs. We have the technology development and commercialization. So if you have a great new idea, if you've designed this perfect new widget for exactly what you're doing, we have folks that will help you go through the IP process and taking that idea, that technology idea, and bringing it from ideation to market. So we have specialists that help with that. We have specialists that do government contracting. If you want to do business internationally, we have folks that can help you navigate those waters, and then a whole bunch of other stuff. One of the things that we do that is pertinent right now is we are a first responder for disaster recovery in the state of North Carolina, and our job and mission is to help small businesses. So when small businesses get wiped out with a hurricane, or there's flooding, or what was the other thing that happened? Oh, that's right, there was this virus that went around. I think it's still going around, Jill. We did a lot of work helping small businesses navigate the challenges of having to close down and what the heck are we going to do and how are we going to survive. That was probably majority of my life over the last 2.5 years. 2.5, good. So I know, right? Come on, where'd the time go? So I'm a business counselor. So these are the sort of things that I help with, like strategic positioning. I do a lot of strategic planning. I do facilitation for strategic planning for small businesses. We help people get access to capital, mostly debt. Sometimes you can get equity, like someone coming in and saying, yes, for a piece of your company, I'll be happy to give you $10 for 90% of your company. That's not really how it works. So we do a lot of work with human resources, operations, operational efficiency, right? We cover the gamut. If I don't know it, one of my 90 colleagues does. And so I rely on, we do a lot of co-counseling. And that's, how did I do? I think I did pretty good for 5 minutes. That's the very, very basic general overview of the SBTDC. Now, who we work with is small businesses. And when we think of a small business, a lot of times we think of like micro businesses. But small businesses, without getting into the technical definition, because there's a lot of definitions the SBA has put out for small businesses, the rule of thumb is 500 employees or below. So the largest company that I work with in the area, they do about $250 million of business a year. And the smallest company that I work with actually hasn't filed their LLC paperwork yet. So we cover the gamut of small businesses in our area. Also, what I failed to mention is we are funded by the Small Business Administration in partnership with the state of North Carolina. So the SBA gives a pot of money to the university system, and the state gives a pot of money to the university system, and the university system then helps us with some of the logistics of moving forward.
Your target audience is businesses 10 plus.
My target audience, what I do is, what we do, there's a big infrastructure for helping small businesses, especially in North Carolina. Really, our focus are business starts, people that are trying to navigate I have an idea, I want to start a business. We have a program specifically for that. It's called Taking the Leap. It's really, really great. It's a 4-week program. So people wanting to start a business and taking the leap, I guess that's how they came up with the name. So there's that aspect. And then what I do is I focus on, we call them mid-sized companies. So companies with 10 or more employees, where a lot of times the company owner starts to feel very, very isolated. Like, I have all of these big decisions to do, and I don't feel comfortable necessarily working with my staff. And I'm not large enough yet. I haven't reached that 7,500 employees that I have an executive team that I'm working with. So we kind of come in as a part of, you can think of us as a part of a strategic executive team where we can bounce ideas back and forth. So myself, Elena, the other counselors, we're all well-versed, and we can talk about almost any industry. And I say almost because there are no absolutes. There's absolutely never an absolute. All right, so any questions about the SBTDC?
One of the main reasons is just make sure everyone understands. We're trying to give you, make sure you know about utility tools in the area. So this is a great resource, similar to attached other co-working spaces, pretty much for you trying to start businesses. We're at your best to try to highlight some of these different resources to you, give the context to how you can use them in your own life, more positive recommendations.
Thank you. All right, well, we're going to jump into CliftonStrengths. Has anyone taken the CliftonStrengths Assessment? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5.5, right? So we have, like, I almost took it, but it was, I don't know if it was, the test was too hard, right? The questions come really quick. I haven't seen it, but you can't really fail the test, right? So
Always make your answers.
that's true. That's true. Although there are checks and balances for that. All right. So CliftonStrengths. When we're talking about CliftonStrengths, I'm not going to talk too much about the actual CliftonStrengths assessment here. what I'm going to talk about mostly, we're going to get into a little bit of that. What I'm going to talk about mostly is, excuse me, we're going to time out for just a moment. I know we're recording on YouTube, so this is probably really, really poor. Would you make me one of those?
Absolutely.
Be
Do you
amazing.
like cream and sugar?
No, just black.
Just black.
So everyone knows now I like black coffee. So we're going to be talking mostly about strengths-based development, because that's a mindset and it's a philosophy that you can use with or without taking CliftonStrengths Assessment. And it's by, I promised Gabe that whoever came and experienced this and spent time with me today is going to get something to take away, whether or not they take the CliftonStrengths Assessment. So we're going to talk a little bit about strengths-based development. So really, strengths-based development is a person's ability to achieve excellence, right? By developing and aiming their strengths, right? So really it's like, what am I good at? Recognizing what am I good at and how can I be better at that, right? So that's the strength-based development. I'll call it a mindset, because I'm pretty big on mindsets. If you haven't read Carol Denning's Mindset, you need to read it. Well, you don't need to, but it's a really, really great resource. Man, this is just, so there's a couple key terms that we're going to be talking about. The first term that we're looking at is a talent, right? So what are talents? Talents are thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that come naturally to them. So I have, and it's the source of our true potential. Like I wake up, it's part of my DNA, right? Being able to stand up in front of a room, even if I have no idea what I'm talking about, I can engage the room, no idea what I'm doing, but boy, I can come up here and I can make eye contact and I can see, oh, how bored is he? Right? Thinking in my head, it's like, am I boring these people? What's going on? What do I need to change? Right? This just happens for me. It's great. I love it, and I love doing it. And so that's a talent. It's something that I've always been able to do. No one taught me how to do it. I can just do it. Now, one thing that isn't a talent for me is sports. I can bounce a basketball, I can dribble a basketball, and I can shoot, but I don't like to do it so much. Like I'll play horse with my nephews and nieces, right? That's kind of fun, but they usually beat me. And they're like, well, they're in college now, so I guess they used to always beat me when we played horse. So that's not really a talent of mine, right? So what a strengths-based mindset is looking at your talents and saying, how can I get better at that? Because when we recognize our talents, we can develop those talents into strengths. But also, having this mindset, it also allows us to recognize other people's talents. Like Gabe, right? You have talent. I haven't met with you. I haven't worked with you that much, right? We sent emails. I met you this morning for the first time. But I know automatically right now, just with my very, very few interactions with Gabe, is he has a talent for communication, right? For written communication, social media, putting something together, like putting like an advertisement together. Like I already know that he has a talent in that. I don't know if it's a strength, but I just know with very, very little interaction, Gabe's the guy. So if I ever needed something done around that, I call up Gabe, right? So keeping an eye out for talents in your colleagues, your coworkers, the people you go to church with can be really, really important to engage them, and maybe if it's appropriate, help them to develop strengths out of their talents. Right? Does that make sense? It's like, what are you good at? What are you good at?
Specifically,
Yeah, what are you good at?
building relationships.
Building relationships, right? So that's an amazing talent. I'm horrible at building relationships. So when recognizing building relationships, have you ever thought about, well, how can I be better? Like, how can I be really better? How can I be one of the best in the world at relationship building? Has that thought ever occurred? It's okay to say no.
Yeah, of course I'm always trying to get better.
Okay,
But do you weigh that with like, do I want to be the best in the world? I
yeah,
think that consumes you when you go extreme for anything.
it could be. It could be, yeah. But so you're always looking at ways to get better at that,
Yeah.
right? So that's great. So that's a strength-based mindset. It's like, I have the strength, it's a natural talent, and I'm going to, or I have this, I have talent, and you've developed it, and it sounds like you've developed it into a solid strength. That's amazing, right? So that you're right on track with the strength-based mindset. And so recognizing what you're good at, what are you good at? And then developing that. So, because here's the challenge is traditionally we tend to focus on the wrong things. And what happens is we tend to focus on our weaknesses. Where do I need to improve? Like where am I falling down? Like one of my weaknesses is names. Remembering names. Whenever I teach or facilitate, if it's more than just a little thing, I make sure that everyone has a big old name plate right in front of them, because I will never remember your name. And so for a while, I spent a long time working through and trying different name games, and it's like, well, if I can associate, what am I going to associate with? What's your name?
Aaron.
Aaron. Okay, so I had a best friend who played trumpet with me, Aaron, and so maybe, but maybe I'll remember. Maybe, but I'm going to get onto something else, and I'm going to say like, oh gosh, and I forgot your name. Right? So Kelly, that's my wife's name, but I'm gonna forget Aaron's name by the time you tell me that. And by the time I learn your name, I'm gonna forget that you have that you share a name, right? It's just not a strength, right? So I tried to develop the talent of learning names. And it's, for me, honestly, it seems like kind of a waste of time, because I'm putting so much energy and effort into it. Whereas if I can really engage, if I focus, well, anyway, so we'll that's the next slide. I don't want to jump ahead, right? So we figure, so there's some poor assumptions on this model. We figure that we can learn almost all behaviors to a level of excellence. And I have some bad news. You can't. It's not going to happen. I'm never going to be an excellent basketball player. Or I'm never going to be excellent at working a room and making friends. It's just not going to happen. I can try and try and try, and I might be okay for a little while, but it's going to be so taxing, mentally and emotionally taxing for me, that I'm going to give up. And I know that from experience, because I've done it. I've done it like 5 or 6 times, and working a room and networking, right? Because you got to be really good at networking. I suck at networking. And I've tried all of the tips and tactics, and it is not going to work for me. That is not a talent. So here's the next point is, if you try hard enough, you can master anything. No, sorry. And so the last one, which I think is even most appropriate, is that fixing weaknesses will lead to success. And that is a fallacy. Fixing your weaknesses will not lead to success. At best, it will prevent failure. So let's look at what makes a person excel. So this is a question. So Gallup developed strengths finders, or it's CliftonStrengths now. So Gallup, does everyone know Gallup? They're that mega powerhouse research firm. So they put their researching arm behind this question: what makes a person excel? And what they found is that people who know and use their strengths are 6 times more likely to be engaged at work. And they're 3 times as likely to report having an excellent quality of life. And I love this. It's so accurate, right? It's so precise. It's 7.8%. They're 7.8% more productive. It's like, how do you even measure that? I don't know. I'm not Gallup. I'm a social scientist, but like, really? I don't know. But I believe them, right? I believe them. So how many people actually enjoy being engaged? Just by a show of hands, how many people enjoy being engaged at work? Just engaged, right? Okay. And how many people like having an excellent quality of life? I do. And who likes to be productive? In whatever, right? So that's what strengths can do for us by focusing on our strengths. That's one of the things. These are some outcomes that we can get by focusing on our strengths in lieu of our weaknesses. So what is a strength-based approach? That's good copy. So first we need to identify our talents, and then we need to develop them. So you can learn some behaviors to a level of excellence, but only some, and certainly not all of them. And which kind of behaviors, what do you think drives those behaviors that lead to excellence using the vocabulary that we have so far?
Identifying talents.
Talents, our talents, right? So we identify our talents, and we can use those to learn behaviors to a level of excellence. So people can contribute in unique ways because we all have a unique set of talents. Yeah? I mean, like, we might be good at some of the same things, but you're good at some things that I'm not. And I've never met anyone that had the same set of strengths that I did, or talents, as it were. Whether it's measured or from an assessment or not, we're all unique. So, and here's the point: fixing weaknesses will prevent failure, but building strengths will lead to success. So, unique set, right? So most of us naturally, right? So this is kind of like, these strengths are like really our DNA that we have. It's our own internal DNA. And they really represent our innate power and potential. That's where we live. And they naturally drive the way that we think, feel, and behave. Right? So when we use our talents, we're more efficient, confident, we have direction and hope, and we're definitely more productive. Yeah? Yeah, everyone with me so far? Do I have you convinced yet that, hey, a strength-based approach might be a pretty good thing to do, or just a mindset to have? All right, so strength, because strength always delivers. And what we mean by strength is the ability to consistently produce a nearly perfect positive outcome in a specific task. So for me, presenting is not a strength. It's a talent. I'm pretty good, but I will tell you that Monday through Thursday, next week, I'm going to be with a group of my colleagues, and we're going to be in a 4-day facilitation training. And they almost didn't send me to that training. They're like, well, Chris, you're already doing it. I'm like, yeah, but I don't know what I'm doing. I'm doing it. I get good reports on it, but I have no idea what I'm doing. I mean, like, what I might be doing everything wrong, and people just kind of like it. But it's not. But maybe it's not even efficient. I don't know, right? So I'm not quite at the level of strength at presenting yet. I don't think, but I'm okay. I'm comfortable, and I'll probably, you know, will I ever see any y'all again? I don't know, but it is going on YouTube, so I got to be on my best behavior, right? So does anyone have something that they produce a nearly perfect positive outcome at a specific task? And I'll give you a couple examples because I am going to ask, and because I'm curious. So you have a hotel front desk hotel person, right? They greet their customers. So almost all of their interactions are nearly perfect. They're greeting at them and they're like, oh, how are you? How's your day going? What can I do for you? And so there's this incredible experience with the client coming in to the hotel, and they do this all the time. It's consistent. It's nearly perfect every time. Or it's the person at the shoe store. They're working in the shoe section at REI, and they come in and they're warm and they know everything about, you know, feet, and they get you sized and they talk to you about what it is your goals are, and you get the perfect, like, clients will get the perfect pair of shoes every time, right? Just phenomenal. Does anyone have something that they're like, yeah, you know what, I do that. I answer the phone it could be something like, whenever I answer the phone of a new client inquiry, like, I nail it every time. I might not get the new client out of it, but the interaction is spot on every time. Anyone have one of those that they're there with? What do you got, Gabe?
A couple of mine are with what I do, unscrambling data feed issues with online inventory. Like, again, one of the best, at least the company, not between them, so the vendors unscrambling their different issues with figuring out what caused the data feed breakdown. And there's also a certain kind of customer type in terms of a phone call, and I know I can knock that one out better than I used to.
Okay, great. So root cause analysis of data issues, right? Knocks it out of the park. And then there's a certain type of customer you got that locked in, right? So that's amazing. So that would definitely be a strength, right? Anyone else have an example? Do you have an example you want to share?
I think I'm pretty strong in reading anxious behavior and managing it. I'm a dentist, so
Okay.
I have to kind of be in tune with that every day at work. So I feel like I'm pretty good at managing people's anxiety.
Right. Okay, great. So if you have an anxious patient coming in, you got it. You recognize it immediately, and you have a nearly perfect positive outcome in managing your patient's anxiety. I would say that would definitely be a strength. Right. So recognizing these, right? We can celebrate strengths. I mean, that's something to be celebrated. Like, really, that's really amazing. Did you take the state plan?
Yeah, I know, right? We're all like,
oh, really? All right, right. So those are examples of strengths, right? So we start with talent and we finish with strengths. 9:30? All right, so we start with talents and we finish with strengths. Right, so our talents help us to understand who we are. And again, these are our innate abilities. We do them without even thinking about it. They're what we do well and what we do naturally, right? They're kind of hardwired, right? They're hardwired. So recognizing those. So I'm curious. Let's do this. If everyone's game, let's everyone say one of their talents. Like, what's a talent? What's a talent that you have? So Gabe, I know that you're not, I won't embarrass you. We started this out. What's a talent that you have?
One talent in particular I use at work is I'm just a get it done person. People, when they want something done, they just say, oh, I have this problem, and they say it near my desk, and usually it gets done.
Okay,
Whether they
awesome.
like it or not, it usually gets done.
Okay, good,
But they'll
right?
never ask me to spell something correctly the first time.
Okay, good,
Don't do that.
right? So we won't, so Gabe relies on F7 or Grammarly.
Very much.
So, but your skill is to, so you get a task and you get it done, right?
Don't get in my way.
You're a man of action. Okay, you want to,
Yeah, so this is interesting to me, like separating talent from strength. Maybe sometimes I think I wake up every day like I want to make people happy.
Yeah.
I don't think it's definitely not perfect every time, but like that's kind of what drives me. You know, so I feel like, and I like throughout my career and stuff, I've gotten better at it. But it's interesting to kind of take that out and think maybe I should focus on like what I want, what my passion is to do, right?
okay,
So it's interesting.
yeah, okay. So making people happy,
Yeah.
right? You just get up, you're hardwired for that. I like it. You want to, do you want to share?
Sure. I think I have a talent for interviewing. I'm a writer, so getting people comfortable and particularly getting them to say something that will sound good on paper instead of just one-word answers.
Got it, right? So you have a talent in interviewing, right? Awesome, that's great. You want to share something?
I have a talent for landing new business.
Landing new business. Whoa, Aaron, yeah. Come on, right? You must be in high demand, Aaron.
Yes, we're kind of at beyond capacity of what we can take on at the moment.
Okay, that is awesome. Landing new business. So do you have a you can share the same one or a different?
I guess I think I have a talent for artistry. I just started a painting class and I kind of surprised myself with how things were turning out. So I think I have like a natural inclination towards art.
Well, that's great, right? So you tried something new and it's like, wow, I can do this, right? You just discovered a talent that you didn't even know you had, right? That's pretty amazing. Thank you. You want to share?
So I think I have a good example of a talent, not a strength. So I am good at organization, but I'm not like Marie Kondo level strength in organization.
Sure.
Does that sound like I'm getting the
Like
difference
you
there?
do it. You organize things.
Like I can look at like a closet in my house and I can take it apart and put it back together, and what at least to me is a really like well organized, nice looking, and I get compliments from people on it, but it's not. I don't know. It's not something I have honed. I think.
Okay. Right. Great. Perfect. Do you have one you want to share?
That's exactly what I was going to
Right.
say.
That's
But
great.
just like that, especially at work, but taking kind of the chaos and putting it in order and spreadsheets make me happy. And,
Just spreadsheets.
but yeah,
Awesome.
taking chaos
Great.
and organizing.
Perfect. You have something you can say no. You good? You want?
One of my other talents is I'm really good at multitasking, managing a really big book of business at work.
Okay.
Like bigger than others and not getting overwhelmed and
Perfect.
handling it well.
Right. So multitasking, taking and getting all of the, not dropping all of the pieces of information.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that. That's really cool. Yeah.
I want to say one thing further because you got me thinking now. So when I took the Strengths Finder test, back when it was called that, my number one was personalization.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm thinking like I like to make people happy, and I feel like this was the first test I ever took where I was like, wow, that's actually true. All the others I like score in the middle. But it's probably because like I can look at each person, like I want to figure out a way specifically like talk to them, approach them, engage them.
Okay.
So I'm putting it all together back here, but this is good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, very good. Right. So recognizing it's important to recognize and celebrate our talents. And then what we can do is choose the talents that we want to develop into strengths, right? Because to develop a talent into a strength definitely requires an investment. It requires our time. It requires our attention. Sometimes it can require money. Like, so I'm going to this facilitation training. It's very expensive. It's not my money, but still, it's government money. So I better do a good job with my clients with it afterwards, right? So what did I miss? Knowledge. Additionally, knowledge skill would be more effective. So I covered all that, right? So being purposeful in choosing our talents and which talents we develop into strengths is really important. So you're great, like this. It's like, wow, I have this talent of being artistic, and really looking at that and saying, oh, well, that's great, or yeah, so I'll use that. So so you're a professional dentist, and given what's going on in your life, it's like I'm not sure. Maybe I don't know if you love dentistry or not, but I'm not sure that I would recommend throwing all of my education and my practice out the window and jump all into developing my artistic skills. I'm not sure that I would recommend that, right? So, but we want to be thoughtful in how much and how we invest and develop our strengths, right? So we can be strategic about it. I don't know. Like I pretty much did that with organizational psychology because I didn't like working with the Department of Defense and Fortune 50 companies. So here I am. All right, and then we finish with strengths, right? So now we've invested in our talents through practice. Practice is a huge thing. I have a talent. One of my talents is a musician, music. I play trumpet, and boy, it's a talent. It is definitely not a strength because I am not near perfect in playing trumpet. But I do play the solo cornet book in the Blue Ridge Brass Band, and it's a stretch, and it takes an enormous amount of practice. And I'm talking to trumpeters all the time, like, man, if I could really nail that high D, if I could just get that a little more solid, that would be amazing. I only have to play it twice in a whole concert, but those 2 times are really, really important, and it is not nearly as perfect as it needs to be, right? So we develop through practice and investment in time, and then they become our strengths, and it will help us to produce specific positive outcomes. Yeah? Right on. So the challenge is that usually we take our most powerful talents for granted, and oftentimes we're not even fully aware of them because they're just part of us. We have the organization crew over here. And it's like, well, I just organize, right? And that's what I do. So so this is where assessment tools like CliftonStrengths, and there's Marcus Buckingham's Standout 2.0 is another iteration of this, of strengths. It's Standout 2.0. I don't know what he's doing now. EDFP bought Marcus's company about 5 years ago. So I don't know where they're at or if they're still active. But using something like the CliftonStrengths can help us to identify those talents, and it can help us to shed light on how they might manifest a little bit differently. So you said individualization was one of your top talents, and you were able to see how you operate and say, oh, yeah, I see how this works, and it kind of expanded what you thought about your talent in that, and it gave you a new context for thinking about it. Right. So the CliftonStrengths, there's 34 different strength criteria that they have. I can't remember the technical term now for it. It's like domains, or it's not domains. So there are 34 themes. It's right on the screen, right? I don't have to remember. I put it up there so I wouldn't have to remember it. All right, so there are 34 themes in CliftonStrengths. And so that can help you, so CliftonStrengths can help you really lock in and think about what it is that you want to develop as a strength. But then, of course, there's the question of, if we're focusing on strengths and focusing on strengths and focusing on strengths, well, what about our weaknesses? Right? Do we just ignore them? What do we do with our weaknesses at this point? Well, we really can't ignore our weaknesses. But one of the principles about using a strength-based approach is really, how do we define a weakness? Because a weakness isn't a weakness unless it's having a serious impact on your personal, professional, spiritual, mental, psychological well-being. Right? Because, like Erin, I don't know, now I'm never going to forget your name because I made such a big deal out of it. Me not having a talent in names I used to think of it as a really, really big weakness. Like, how am I going to even operate as a professional if I go into a meeting and I can't even remember my client's name, right? I had 10 meetings with them. They share intimate knowledge about their business and their deepest, darkest fears and what keeps them up at night. And it's like, this joker can't even remember my name. Like, that sounds like a weakness to me. But I've been able to use my strengths. So a little bit of organization, a little bit of pre-planning, and a lot of strategy to be able to really eliminate that weakness. Now, I'm not any better at names. Maybe I'm a little better at names, but I'm not by any means proficient with names. But because I'm strategic about how I go about my work now and how I go about networking, and that I'm okay saying, you know what, I'm horrible with names, and I'm all right with that. And forgive me, it doesn't mean anything about you. It's just the way that my mind is wired, and I apologize. Right? So that's not necessarily a weakness, because I have found ways using my strengths to mitigate that challenge. Right? So a weakness is a shortage or misapplication of a talent, skill, or knowledge that causes a problem for you or others. And I will say that talents can be weaknesses. You can be really strong in a talent, and it can develop into a weakness. So if I'm really good, right, so I'm going to just use the socializing, right? This is not I don't know if this is true for you. I would imagine not, because we've already identified that socializing and meeting people and engaging people is a strength of yours. So not about you, it's about an example that I can use. So if I'm really good, and by the way, part of that is called woo, winning others over, right? It's a strength. It's one of the 34 criteria. 34 strengths, and that is being able to go into a room and engage and meet like pretty much everyone really, really quickly, and just have this amazing interaction with everyone in the room. You go to a networking event and you're everywhere, and engaging people. It's like, oh, Aaron, how are you doing? Oh, it's so great to see you. Oh my gosh, right? And you're all around the room, and pretty soon you've met everyone. Well, I could see an instance where that could turn into a weakness. And I was thinking about what I was going to do and how I was going to present today, specifically on this slide. Because woo is like 32 for me in a rank in ranked strengths. It's like way down there. I don't understand it. I don't understand how people do it. I mean, it's pretty cool to see. I kind of wish sometimes I could do it, but it's like, no, there's no way I'm going to do that. And so I've seen these really bigger than life people going into networking events and just completely wrecking it by, have you ever seen that? The bigger than life, the boisterous, like, oh, here I am. I'm not going to meet everyone and you're going to like me, right? So that might actually, so winning others over, or that talent might actually be a weakness. So, and so we can really manage those. We can manage those and work on them, but we have to be aware of them. We have to be aware of what's going on. So weaknesses, we don't ignore them, but we really want to make sure that they're a weakness. Is it having a negative impact? Is it having a negative impact? Because if it isn't, it's not a weakness. Just because I can't work a room, a networking room really well, and what I want to do is I want to say, hey, Kelly, how are you? And find a nice spot to sit down and, drink my coffee or water and just have a conversation, engage with you. Yeah. So, right. So it's not necessarily, that isn't a weakness for me, but if that was my job and that's what I was supposed to do, was engage the whole room, that would definitely show up as a weakness for me, because I wouldn't last with it. So why strengths? People who are there's a strong connection between people who are and what they do best, right? So who I am and what I do best is a direct relationship with. Right? So if I'm not someone that goes out and engages a room, and she is, right? So she's at her best doing that. I'm not.
I'm not great at doing that, but
Well, all right, so
winning people over is different than like maintaining relationships.
okay, so but play with me so that I can feel
Okay.
so that I can feel confident.
Like
I
I
actually
nervous next time I'm
Okay.
around, I'm not
no. So play with me so that I can actually feel like I read your comment right.
Perfect.
Okay, good. We can talk afterwards. We'll debrief if you need to. Yeah, all right. Good. Right. So there's a strong connection between who people are and what they do best. There's a strong connection to what people do best and how they feel. Because do you feel better when you're doing the things that you're best at? Yeah, I know I do. And there's a strong connection between how people feel and how they perform. Because when I'm feeling good, I perform a lot better. So, CliftonStrengths Assessment is based on positive psychology. And I'll leave this up here for a little bit. So positive psychology is really the study of human flourishing. So what is it? So it's kind of like when you're functioning optimally, what's going on for you, right? And that's basically the study of positive psychology. And it goes from individuals, communities, and organizations, right? So it operates under several domains. So the actual assessment, there's 170 questions, and it's actually kind of stressful because you have 20 seconds to answer questions that give you questions like, I read instructions carefully, or I like to jump right into things, right? 20 seconds, tell me, what is it? Go. Jump, all right, great. So you hit jump, and then you get another one, and you have 170 of those, 20 seconds each, bam, 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 and it doesn't let you stop. It's hard, and it's hard to trip the test up because of that, because it actually puts you in a little bit of a stressful situation. At least I found it stressful, right? So it measures talents in 34 different areas or themes. This is a lot of words that are probably unnecessary now that I put them all out there. And it gives you a really nice comprehensive report and it helps to operationalize some of those things for you. Right? So we talked a little bit about this. This is sort of like the discussion, but we did a lot of discussion actually during the talk. So I'm gonna leave you with the question that you can bring home, and how can you use this information at work, as a leader with your team, or maybe even in your personal life. Like, how can you use this? And I'll leave that for self-reflection. So here we go, the coaching deal of a lifetime. So if you take the Clifton's assessment and you donate $130 to a nonprofit or an Asheville-based nonprofit organization of your choice. And if I were to push something, I will say that Blue Ridge Public Radio is in their fall campaign right now. I'm just saying. I will, and you send me that receipt for your donation. We can do, I will give you a 1-hour coaching session around CliftonStrengths. We can debrief your strengths and kind of talk through it and see how it operationalizes in your life. Right? So that's the offer. And I will tell you, it's usually about $500 for a CliftonStrengths certified coach. It's about $500 for the debriefing. But since I'm a government employee and I can't like put the screws down and do the hard sell, I figure this is probably a really good thing. I think it matches really well with the organization and how the organization operates. And so that is the end of my planned presentation. I don't have anywhere to go for about a half an hour. I'm happy to like stick around and chat and talk. I thank you very much for your time. Thank you for the opportunity to get in front of a room and talk for a little bit. And with that, then I am complete.
You mind answering some questions so we get to that point?
That's fine. Yeah.
Did everyone enter for getting a coaching session or a free
So
assessment?
I was going off of the donation amount, so that's $1,000 worth of value with 2 coaching sessions that which are going out here, and then we also have this a couple assessments that we're going to be giving away with those that come here. So if you missed it, you really missed out on a great opportunity here. I just want to say thank you for Chris. We're very thankful for them being willing. Like I said, it's really difficult to find folks that are, number one, certified or capable in doing over detailed assessments like this. So it's just even more difficult to find folks willing to donate their time to a professional organization to be able to do that, to make sure you understand these different things. We do want to make sure to kind of put in context. I mean, we're talking about our strengths and our weaknesses. That was one of the things about the idea to employers is like what you're trying to learn is having a negative impact on my workplace. That's one of the things that we're trying to help you ascertain. Is this really, am I being destructive with my coworkers? Am I being destructive with my family? Am I being destructive to myself? I'm trying to learn to become, like we said, the theme for these this particular segment of our content, trying to be more self-aware. So if you can please pass this along to other folks in YFBA or even in your co-working spaces or other workplaces. We'd love to see this, whether it's through the SBTDC, have an impact on the workplace or through YFBA. We're going to be trying to highlight these different things to give you great opportunities to get more aware of yourself and help your company, whether it's your own company or the one that you work for, be able to make progress in establishing a great culture, help you become the better individuals. There's a couple of different models that this profiles that help us show us even more of how we show up and how to understand when we're freaking people out, and how to just understand that someone doesn't mean to be always mean to be mean. It's just kind of how they're wired, so different things like that. So I encourage you, if you haven't taken the assessment yet, do it. Please do invest the time and the money to at least take in the assessment. And when we get together, we can always talk about these things and help each other get better. We're trying to create a community of those different things. I want to make sure to thank Mosaic for the wonderful food. So they got coffee over there, so if you haven't grabbed yourself a coffee yet, and you just feel like you need something to go, if you're not feeling a Keurig cup, they're just a few steps down the road. So please stop through before you head out if you want, if you can. I think he's got some, charity event that he's trying to support.
Yeah, so we'll,
First responders.
yeah, he likes to do like a first responder event, and they sponsor like this kind of like neighborhood cool thing. They bring out like firefighters and stuff. They give money back to like multiple groups. So we'll promote that on social media. But we'd love to have a little small group come on and hang out. I work right down at First National Bank, so we can always hang out.
Me and Nebula, we have lunch at Visit.
Yes.
You can join us. How about
We
that?
will.
We'll make a plan.
Try to make sure we support the different places.
Yeah.
Like that.
We like that.
So we've got that. You guys, this workshop coming up in early October on the 7th. We're at the chamber. We got a Failure Friday we're trying to put together for November, so be on the lookout for that. If you have anybody that would be great that you work with or that you've met in the community that you think would have a great lesson from failure to learn, please do pass them along to us. We want to try to create a great platform to exchange different ideas. We want to thank Western Carolina for having us here today, letting us borrow a couple of their employees within our committee and for the lessons today. And figure just open up first. Any follow-up questions? I know you want to debrief over there a little bit. Are there any other questions for Chris?
I'm gonna pull some names.
Yeah, do you mind reminding us what we're giving out?
Yes, we are giving out 2 free coaching sessions. If you've done the CliftonStrengths Finder, if you haven't, you'll have to purchase the assessment before your coaching session, of course. But the coaching session part will be free. And then we're also giving out 2 free assessments. So, and you guys have good odds. So let's look and see what happens here. All right. Aaron for a assessment.
That's there.
Yay!
This is just so that I can hand you something. We'll communicate with you via email on how to get that to you. All right, so another Strengths Finder book and code.
Da-da-da.
Blank. I think that's my fault, sorry. Abigail.
Yay.
Figure out where that creativity fits in. Okay, and now we're on to the coaching sessions. I can't hold on to anything today. Oh.
As long as you hold on to your sanity, we're okay.
Mandy. All right. And last but not least, free coaching sessions to Laura.
Yay.
Alrighty, thanks guys. That was fun. I should do things way more often.
Any parting words on the Strengths Finder assessment, Chris?
If you want to schedule with me, the absolute best way to get a hold of me is email. I'll spare you that we're recording, so I won't say anything about our phone system at work. So the email is definitely the best way to get in touch with me. And I highly recommend it. If you do take the Strengths Finder assessment, I highly recommend spending the extra money to get all 34, because it's like the code in the book will give you your top 5, and it's an extra $20 or $30, and it will unlock the rest, all 34. I think even if you don't engage in coaching around it, I think it provides a lot of additional insights.
Thank you, Chris. We've got plenty of goodies over here. We want to make sure these disappear. Otherwise, I will make them disappear at my workplace or possibly at one of our other workplaces here. So
Our students will also not be mad about it.
I'm gonna get those.
So
But please do take something on your way, or make yourself a cup of coffee to go. Thank you guys so much.
Thank y'all for coming.
Yes, you sure did, yeah. Yeah, anybody that went to the social and donated to the food pantry, feel free to pop on the corner.
Is it in place here? We can see it? Now that it's all stopped up?
It's like, yeah, now that I I did not.
It was a team effort. It was a team effort. That's okay, I guess. Congratulations. I used to say trees all day.
Hope you enjoyed.
Am I eating on camera?
Yes, yeah. I will. See ya.
Hope the debrief on the coaching session.
Yeah, I get to have my own debriefing session. Yeah, I guess so. It's nice to meet you. Thanks for doing this.
Absolutely, yeah, it's fun. Yeah, please do. Yeah,
I just find stuff in
You can either go to Gallup's CliftonStrengths and you can write the assessment directly.
Did you guys start it?
Or you can buy a book on Amazon and they have a code and it'll get you in the spot.
Yeah, sometimes
I'm Kelly.
Man, you want something, Laura, right? Celebrate, you want something.
Yeah, I think this would go.
It's been so long.
I'm so excited to do it again.
Why not?
Do a session with you, so. I don't
As long as it's
Great.
as long as it's
I mean, mine was like,
not.
I was interning in college. This is like 14 years ago.
Well, here's the thing for me.
But I remember like really liking, like, on top of it, that's actually accurate. It's not really scratchy, so.